river, run. Run through the hills. Run, river, run to the sea. Run, river, run to your place beneath the sun. Run, river, run over me. Run.
Hi, this is Jan Lewis. Welcome to be my guest. Today we have Farhana Zia with us, and Farhana is a children's author, and she has quite a few books here, and she's really terrific. She's from Framingham. Welcome, Farhana. I've said that right.
You
Farhana.
did.
It's a beautiful
Farhana,
name.
yes, yes.
And the book she has written, these are the few: Child of Spring, and let's see, Hot Roti Forgotten, right?
Dadaji.
Dadaji.
Correct.
Dadaji. Hold up your ones that you have.
And this is the Garden of My Imam,
Yeah.
which is a chapter book. And this is the latest one. It was just out.
Yeah.
This is called Lolly's Feather, picture book.
Beautiful. Now, you were a school teacher, right?
I was.
In elementary school. What grade did you
Elementary
do?
school teacher. I taught first started off in Framingham. That's where I went to Framingham State College, got my master's in education, did my practice teaching in Framingham, and then for part-time work, I was what they call the Chapter 1 teacher. It was a federal program where I went into the school and provided assistance to struggling children. And it was just a half a day, and it suited me because I had responsibilities at home.
Yeah.
My mother-in-law was at home, so it was just fine. 3 hours at work and then back home. And then along the line, when the director of this program retired and went as a principal to Northborough, she asked me to come. So there was an opening for a 4th grade, and I went and I interviewed, and I stayed in Northborough for 26 years.
You were?
Yes. So all my teaching career was in Northborough in a couple of schools, but elementary.
Yeah.
So my experience was 4th grade, and then because I was a little bit of a risk taker, towards the end I said, give me 5th grade.
Oh, yeah, that's a risk. Oh, yeah, I remember 5th grade.
To 5th. But it was, what a pleasure. I never thought I would be a professional.
Yeah.
It was like, go to college, get married, stay home, have babies, take care of the house. But I must credit my husband for pushing me into doing something. So that's the reason I went to Framingham State, got my certification after my master's,
That's wonderful.
and then made teaching my career, and I'm telling you, it became a passion.
What town, I know I read about, what town are you from in India?
In India, a city called Hyderabad, which is south central. If this is the peninsula, Hyderabad is right about there.
Is it near to Mumbai?
It is southeast of Mumbai.
Do you speak
Southeast.
Tamil?
I don't. My mother tongue is Urdu.
Urdu. I used to, the India Center over in Shrewsbury?
Yes.
Love it. I don't know, did you know Nita Shah? She did the meditation?
No, I
For
don't.
years. I went to her
Don't.
meditation on Sundays. I've never found anything that I could relax in like that.
Right.
One day I just went,
You went to
and
sleep.
she sat there, she said, Jan, they were all laughing.
Wake up.
Well, I said, was I asleep? She goes, no,
Yeah.
you were in deep meditation. And I didn't argue with her, but I'm like, boy, whatever your magic is, keep it up.
Yes,
We just had your
yes.
new president on from
I
the
see.
Indian Society.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we had him on.
Yeah, are you talking about the one in Worcester?
Yeah,
In the
Shrewsbury.
In Shrewsbury. you're
There's
right.
one in Worcester, too. Okay. I think it's...
Was it Shrewsbury?
It was-
I'm getting a little confused. Maybe on the Worcester line. I'm not sure, but I
yeah,
know
it's
I
very
went
close.
there.
Yeah. It's
years
like
ago.
one floor building.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I went when Hot Roti was published, actually, first.
That's when you went, oh.
And that was the last time that I was there.
Do you have to give in any of your presentations and had some book signings there? I would think that'd be great.
I think that's a good venue. Once this craziness is over, we're back to some sort of a normalcy.
Yeah.
I think reaching out to them would be useful for me.
Farhana, tell us about your books. Now, Child of Spring, what's this one about?
Jan, it has an interesting history. That was the first thing I ever wrote, but in terms of sequence of publication, it was the 3rd. Okay, and Child of Spring, if you want to, It's about a little servant girl,
Basanta.
Basanta. Basanta, and the word Basanta means spring in Hindi,
Yeah.
and thus the title, Child of Spring. And she was my little servant girl. She served me, when I was
When
growing
you were
up.
in India?
When I was in India, Basanta was my little servant girl, and she was, Basanta do this, Basanta do that, Basanta fetch this. So she would accompany her mother, who was the cook.
Yeah.
And they would, poor family, but noble people with values and ethics. So this little Basanta would come and serve me every day, and so I remembered her, Basanta is probably a grandmother like I am, because she was a little bit younger than I. But when I came to the United States, way back in 1967, and it was a wonderful immigration for me, very exciting. But after the first initial excitement of being in the great America was over, you kind of start to miss things,
India.
right?
Yeah.
You miss your parents, you miss your siblings, but you miss the sights and the sounds and the smells. Basanta was somebody that I missed too.
She probably missed you a lot.
I don't know whether she did. I hope so, because we had a good relationship. There was a lot of respect. So don't get me wrong, she was a servant. Yes, she was a servant. And I'm sort of embarrassed to say that in front of you, but that was the way of life. There
Sure.
were the haves and the have-nots. She was part of the have-not, but so rich in
And you didn't
ethics and
communicate by
morals.
mail with anybody?
Never did. I wish I did, because then, she's a grandmother. I mean, the families, I must say, in India has stressed education, so the poor were able to take advantage of that. They were encouraged, and they were able to better the lot.
Yeah.
So I would not be surprised if Basanta's children and grandchildren are flourishing somewhere.
Did you come over in 69 or 67?
I came in 67. That was the year I was married. And I
And then you
came
went
in-
to Framingham State after that?
I went to Framingham State after the children were born, so in the 70s, and when I went part-time. I went for the evening classes, got my master's degree. But like I said, those remembrances, that nostalgia sort of was the reason for writing that
Yeah, I
story.
noticed that you dedicated it. I noticed that she's the first name you dedicated to Basanta.
To Basanta,
That
yes.
is so. Does she have a copy of this?
I don't know where she is. I don't know. I've not kept track. I know her mom died, and I knew about that, but I don't know where she is.
This
I
is
have no
beautiful.
idea.
This Basanta is so sweet. She would get into all the things going on in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
And she would want to help people.
Yes.
But there's something else too. Tell us about the beautiful ring that she liked.
Oh, that was my ring. I don't know, my dad or my mom had given me this ring. It was a little silver ring. And so that piece of it is real. The story is, of course, made up. Nobody stole the ring. The ring, I don't know where it left, where it went.
Yeah.
But I sort of spun the story about the ring and wanted to bring in the value system.
Yeah.
She's a little girl. She sees the difference between the haves and have-nots, and what this little baby, who's the little mistress, has versus herself. So when the ring is perceived as stolen, is actually lost, and she is very insulted. That little baby sort of hints, never accuses openly, but hints to the fact that maybe Basanta, you took it.
Oh, yeah.
And so that doesn't sit well on Basanta, because she has been raised very well by a very sound mother.
Right.
So when she does come across the ring one day, she's sweeping and she finds the ring. She says, "I'm keeping it."
There you go.
You think I stole it? Well, you don't need it. You're going to get another one. Your mom's going to get you another one. So
Great
that was
idea for a book. Now, Farhana, how can people reach you? We're going to show you more books. But how
Okay.
can they reach you?
I have a website. It's www.fziastories.com. So F is my initial, fziastories.com. And my email is farhanazia@hotmail.com.
Now, hold up your next one, the Iman. Is an Iman the
The
same
Garden
as
of
like
My
a
Imam.
minister or a priest?
No, the Garden of My Imam. Imam is
Can you see that, Paul? Can you zero in? Okay.
So this is interesting. The Garden of My Imam, my publishers were having a little confusion with the term. Iman means a belief,
Okay.
your belief, the Garden of My Imam. They thought it was Imam. Imam is, a religious director, if you will.
Isn't Imam
at
and a Muslim head of the Muslim? Okay.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. The Imam of
Yeah.
a mosque would be the person who would be leading the prayer, or, he would be have more of knowledge about the religion,
Right.
So to speak. But the word Iman comes from an Arabic word, and it means belief.
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 The Garden of My
the
Belief.
Garden of My Belief.
And the
So
cute
it's-
picture. Did you pick the pictures? for these?
No, I didn't. No, this was the publisher.
Yeah.
I actually hadn't anticipated this cover, and as a Johnny come lately, I could call myself. I really didn't have any say as to what goes
That's
into
what happens. If you don't self-publish
cover.
it, they do it for you.
They do it for you, and I actually I was not anticipating, I was not visualizing this, because it's not only about the hijab, it's about the main character, who's Alia, does not wear the
Yeah,
hijab.
right.
It's the other central character who is the hijab wearing
So they
character.
kind of got it a little mixed up.
I'm not sure. I think it was pretty deliberate.
Do you
I
think
thought
so?
that it would be more of an attraction. I don't know. I had my own feelings about it, but that's how it
I think it's cute.
came out.
Why not? It gets your attention.
Why not?
Now,
Yeah.
what's it basically about?
It is a coming of an age story of Alia, who is a very normal American Muslim, living a life, and she is in a multi-generational home, and that concept is very dear to my heart. So there's a great-grandmother, and there's a grandmother, and there's a mother, and there's Alia, 4 generations living together. And she is a Muslim, but she's not a in-your-face Muslim. She doesn't wear a hijab, and so she sort of blends in. But one day, Marva she's a new student, and she wears the hijab, and all of a sudden, Alia has got little misgivings, because remember, right now, 9/11 has happened. So the whole world has changed for Alia and many people like her.
Yep.
And she's going through a lot of emotional, distress, or
Right.
she's confused. So when Marva drops in one fine day as a new student, she doesn't know how to take it. She's like, I don't
Yeah.
want to be seen as you, that sort of thing.
Right.
But then along the way, she learns that, Marva is a person of quality.
Sure. Yeah.
And nobody sees the hijab, they see only the person that she is.
I think they're beautiful. I had a friend, briefly, I said she'd never been to yard sales. She was Muslim. I met her at Nita's, at the India Center in Shrewsbury.
Uh-huh.
And I said, "You've never been to yard sales?" No. I said, "Come on." So I took her with me, and she would get things, but she would take them to mail back home to her relatives. And I invited her into my home,
Yeah.
but she never invited me into hers. So she said, "I couldn't have come into your home alone if you hadn't been there, because they can't be alone with your husband around."
Right.
And I thought, I wonder if her husband was very strict,
Yeah.
because it felt funny.
Yeah.
I'm like, around here, just come on in.
Yes, of course. It's true. It's all a matter of how you're interpreting the text.
Yeah,
And everybody
definitely.
sees their own
Now
way
we've
of
got another
interpretation.
hot roti for
For-
Dadaji.
For Dadaji.
Now, does Dadaji mean grandpa?
Dadaji is a paternal grandfather.
Okay.
In our culture, in the Indian Pakistani culture, each relationship is assigned a specific term.
Yeah.
Here everyone is an aunt, everyone is an uncle. But with us, if it's your father, sister, it's a certain term. If it's a brother, it's a certain term. So Dadaji is a paternal grandfather.
So whoever did this did a pretty darn good job.
They
got
did
the
a
clothes
nice job.
right. The clothes.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. This is done by a Korean American.
A Korea. Oh my
in
gosh.
California. And I was a little bit nervous when I found out. And they don't like you to talk with the illustrator. Again, if you're new to the business, then if you've done a lot of writing for them and you're established, I'm sure the author has plenty to say. But I didn't, and I was a little nervous because he was Korean, and I just wanted him to be authentic.
Sure.
So I wasn't supposed to reach out, but I just said, hi, this is Farhana Zia, just to say hello. And he sensed the reason for my little text, and he says, don't worry,
Yeah.
I'm doing all my research. I'm going out in the streets of Los Angeles. I
Yeah.
think he lives to all the, neighborhoods to get a sense of
Ken Min.
Ken Min is the
Korean, correct?
Korean.
Yep.
Korean.
Now, what
yes.
is this? What's this one about?
This is again a little boy of Indian heritage, an American kid whose grandparents have come to live with him, and the grandfather is a great storyteller. He always spins stories, and he tells him a story about a lad who was young and who got his power from eating this bread or roti. So Anil, and it's really he's talking about himself, Dadaji. So Anil makes some hot roti for his Dadaji to see if he can restore the old powers.
Sure. I love it.
So
Okay, now, the book that you have under there, too. Now,
Yes.
You've got a couple more. Oh, but that's the one, yeah.
This is
Lolly's
Lolly's
Feather.
Feather,
Did he
yes.
design that one, too?
no, this is the publisher's Peachtree,
Okay.
and Peachtree got Stephanie Pfizer Coleman, who's the illustrator.
Now, what's Lolly's Feather about?
Lolly's Feather is, again, Lolly is this sprightly little girl who is one of the characters, by the way, in The Child of Spring,
Yeah.
Lolly, just a younger version. And she finds a little feather, and just a little ordinary feather, and she goes around to see, asks different animals or birds, and nobody wants it. They scoff at it for various reasons, so she decides she's going to keep it and make
Yep.
all kinds of, do funny things or good things with it.
It's beautiful. I
Basically.
love the cover. That is beautiful. I mean,
Yes,
I like that.
very
I like that.
vibrant.
I can like them all. Now, if people want to get a hold of you right now, the
Yes.
COVID's going on, but do you stick to online ordering, like Amazon or something like that?
My books are available through Amazon.
They're on
yes,
Amazon.
and then the publishers, of course, have them. I'm not sure about the bookstores, though. I'm not
Yeah,
quite
you've
sure.
got Tatnuck, we've got that, we've got Barnes and Noble.
Yes, correct.
We got
yes.
to get her out more, giving presentations. I mean, I'm starting to help my authors do this. Like, even if, Tatnuck is open now, Barnes and Noble is open. There are many libraries that are beginning to open up,
Right.
senior centers. But I say, even if when you reach them, they say, well, no, we're not open yet. I said, I said, make sure they have your name and your contact. You get their name, because when they do, you might be first on the list to appear there. And so far, it's worked like a charm. It's important. Have you
Yeah.
been to Tatnuck at all?
I have. I was in Tatnuck, a month ago?
What'd you think?
And I loved it.
Yeah.
I loved it. I was the first person who actually opened their opening,
Yeah, because you were there.
post-COVID opening.
Yeah.
She told me Finn, I
Fiona,
think
yeah.
you know her.
Were you in the big room in the back?
I was in the big room.
How many
That's right,
people showed up?
beautiful. About 20. which
That's fantastic.
Not bad at all.
Yeah, that's
Not
really-
bad at all.
That is great. That's a real hit. Also, arts and crafts fairs, you would think, oh no, they wouldn't want an author. But believe it or not, they do, and you stand out more because you're not, writing is a craft, but it's a
Right,
whole different,
right.
and very often do very well at an arts and craft fair.
That's very interesting.
That's great to
I
know.
would not have thought about that. I've done school presentations.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Yeah, I do a lot of those. And,
Where have you been? What schools?
I was at my own school in Northborough, the Z School
Yeah.
in Northborough, and then I substitute teach. I stopped when COVID started, so I've done that. I've been to, my son lives in Texas, so when I was there, I did some presentations there in Connecticut. So I kind of get around.
So you're
not too
going
much,
throughout New England. So that's a good sign.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
We've
right.
got what? New England, Connecticut, Rhode Island, New Hampshire, Vermont, Maine, Massachusetts.
Yes.
There's a big smorgasbord.
Correct.
And lots of
correct.
different television stations, cable, radio.
Mm.
I have a Bible full of that information because if an author tells me, well, I'd rather stay in Massachusetts or I want to go everywhere, then I've got it. I can research it and I've got it. Tell us, Farhana, again, how they can get your book right now.
My website is www.fziastories.com. And if you want to write to me, you can write to me at farhanazia@hotmail.com.
She told me that she was retired when she walked in. I'm like, what? Oh my gosh! Now the
yes.
picture is beautiful in the book.
Oh, thank you.
Yes,
I appreciate that.
You two look great.
Thank you.
That's really good. You have two children.
2 children.
And 3 grandchildren.
3 grandchildren. Like I said, Umar is an engineer. He is in Austin. And his daughter, Gabriella,
Yeah.
she's 11. And I dedicated, I think, the first book to my 3 grandchildren.
Did they like it?
They do. They do. Gabriella is the reader, and she she likes it. Yes.
I think you mentioned that you didn't realize that you were going to be an author. When did this happen?
You know, Jan, we all start in school, writing in school, but
Yeah.
that is mandated. That's something that nobody wants to do, but you have to do.
Yeah,
right?
college prep in high school, I remember.
Exactly. And I have not so nice memories of assignments just before vacations.
Yeah.
You know, you write 4 essays, blah, blah. But writing for pleasure, writing because there was an itch inside me, you know, that needed to be scratched. And that happened soon after I came to this country. So my writing to honor where I was coming from started in the 70s. That's when Basanta and those kinds of things I would jot down, but it was purely personal.
Yeah.
You know, nothing to no idea of ever putting it on a shelf anywhere, but I would say it was a progression actually, you know.
Yeah.
When somebody said to me, well, try to put it out there. So
Yeah.
it was before the internet days, before you could do electronic submissions. It was really the hard way of submitting and so on and so forth.
Darn that COVID thing, you know, because, like I say, you know, authors say, well, what's it use for me to try to call a contact now? I'm like, and like I told you, get in there, get yourself. That's wonderful that you were at TAPNUC. That room in the back, I've given presentations there, a lot of my authors. That
Right.
is fantastic. Even art shows they have there.
Do they have repeat?
Huh?
Do they call people back? TAPNUC? Do they, or is it a one-time
no,
appearance?
if you want to go back and
Yes.
appear again, that's fine. Terrific. Oh yeah, I would send someone there over and over if they want to go.
Right,
I think she's
right.
pretty nice, Fiona.
Yeah.
Hello, Fiona.
she
We're
is.
talking with Farhana Zia, and she is a children's books author. Child of Spring, Hot Roti for Dadiji, The Garden of My Imam, and let's see, did I miss one? Lolly's Feather. Lolly's Feather.
Lolly's
That's 1, 2, 3, 4
4.
books.
And
Is
one
there
of-
another one coming?
One in the works.
I knew it.
One in the works.
Can you give us an idea?
Yeah, I'm not sure what we're going to call it, and this is the first time it's happened where the publisher had a little bit of an issue with the title. So it's in the Lali series,
Yeah.
hopefully, and it's about Lali going to the market because she's got sore feet. She doesn't have shoes. Feet are always hurting, so she saves some money to go to the market to buy herself some flip-flops.
Oh,
And then she's got requests along the way from certain animals, and that's how the story starts
so
and
the animals
develops.
ask her, will you pick this up for me in the
Would you
store?
please get me this? Would you please get me that? And she doesn't commit. You
Yeah.
know, she doesn't commit. She doesn't say yes, she doesn't say no, and she doesn't for the first time around, and they're angry at her.
Now,
So
when will this be out?
we're still in the process of signing contracts.
How
and
long
so
does
on
it
and
take
so
you
forth.
to actually write a book, usually?
Well, it depends, Jen. If it's a picture book, Hot Roti was not that long.
Yeah.
Maybe 6 months still. And if you talk about the Garden of My Imam or
Yeah.
the Child of Spring, well over a year or 2.
Don't
Yeah.
be shy, because you know. I mean, this is fantastic. And are you going to leave some for the library, the dedicated authors wall thing?
Yes.
Good, because that's
Yes.
another place you can come down to the Upton Town Library. They have a dedicated wall to local authors.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know how many have been on the program over the last 9 years, but I don't think there's room for something. But believe me, they'll put yours up, and I want to make sure, you know, that you do that.
Sure.
It's important. How about now? You're in Framingham, right?
Mhm.
How about the Framingham Library? Have you contacted?
They do. No, I have been there. I have been there a couple of times, and I know the children's librarian quite well. And yes, they carry my books.
That's wonderful.
but
Have you
again,
presented yet there or not?
Just a reading.
Yeah.
I've had a reading in that costume room. I think you probably
Because
know
I can
it
see
is.
you giving a presentation in the big room. I could just picture you, and you're giving everybody the background of where you came from and how this all evolved.
Right.
And then in the back of the room, you have a lot of your copies of your books, and you say, and you can join me if you'd like to for a question and answers, and then you go back to, and you sit at the table and you wait, and they come over to see you,
Yeah.
and they want it signed, they want to buy it.
Yeah.
That is a perfect room.
Yeah.
A lot of places have good rooms, though.
Yeah.
Some libraries have big rooms, too.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
know. I know. Now, these books actually lend to a lot of interactive activities.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, when I do them in school, we do a lot of hands-on. We make the roti and we wrap the sari on. I mean, so children are invited on
Yeah.
and they participate. So there's a lot that can and does go on, actually.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Now, the new one coming along, you got about 5 minutes. The new one coming along, you're not sure yet when that will be out. Not sure.
Yeah, not sure. I wish the process could be hurried, but it generally takes about a year or
If you
and a half.
if you would if you can self-publish, it's quicker, and you get to choose your cover a lot quicker,
Yes.
and it comes out just as nice. But
sure.
Sometimes
Yes.
people would want to go through a publisher.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
I've heard a lot of good things about self-publishing.
Yes.
You think
yes.
you might do that sometime?
I'm going to let the others do that work.
You're gonna let them do it.
This is hard enough for me. Let them. And it's a good sense that somebody wants or likes your books enough to want to invest in them. That is a good feeling for me.
We have got to close, but we've been talking with Farhana Zia, and she has written, well, we showed you 4 books, children's books. She's got another one coming. Child of Spring, Hot Roti for Dadaji, and my
Lali's Feather
Lali Feather,
and the Garden of My Imam.
The Garden of My Imam. Very, very good. You're on your way, girl. You're on the right track. For beginning, that's fantastic. That really is. I'm going to have you back on again when you have your another book. That would be
Thank
wonderful.
you. I would love to keep in touch with you.
That would be great.
Jen, and I appreciate you reaching out, and thank you for the invitation.
You're welcome. Very much so. It's our pleasure. We'll be back. We'll see you
Thank
next
you.
time on Be My Guest.
Thank you.
The lunar tomb. Life goes by so quickly.